Hey, it's Dr. Rimka with Brain and Body Solutions and Brain and Body Revolution. So, I'm getting used to YouTube here and I'm excited about it. For all of you who've been following me on Facebook at Dr. Rimka's Brain and Body Solutions business page, I appreciate it. And now we're going to move over to YouTube a little bit. So, if you like what you hear, please like, share. We want to start getting the message out about holistic health from a different perspective, where I'm coming at it in terms of having a kind of a brain holistic primal way of going after things. So I've been in private practice for 20 years in Atlanta, specializing in neurofeedback and functional nutrition to help people with brain-based disorders such as anxiety and depression and panic attacks, PTSD, bipolar. So it sounds like a lot of mental health issues. And that has been my passion for a very long time. And it was spawned probably just from my life growing up in my own family, and highly motivated by my nephew to learn about the brain and the gut connection further and further when he was diagnosed with autism about 20 years ago, or 18 years ago at this point. He's about to be a pretty big number, 23. He's excited about it. So that being said, we're going to get into, so yesterday I did part 1, I guess we would call it. I didn't really announce it that way. And it was a little bit long, but it was a broad spectrum of information about what the news isn't really telling you about your health and how to stay safe, right? And so I was trying to redirect the conversation to make you think about things maybe you never thought about before. So in the description, in the notes, will be the link to part 1, where you can watch that. And I break down my 2 big reasons as why I think some people, as I've been asked a lot from my patients and from students in my online courses, what do you think, Dr. Rimka, as to why some people are having mild symptoms and why some people are having severe symptoms? Because we know that pathogen itself isn't that strong. So why are people being hit so severely? And in my world, and the people that do what I do, there's a lot of videos on Instagram and YouTube and Facebook right now, really concentrating on diet, on nutrition, sugar consumption, blood sugar, insulin issues. Very, very popular in the communities that I run in, the circles, the pack that I hang out with, and what I've been teaching. I've been teaching my patients how to use a primal way of eating for a very, very long time. If you don't know my story, I was a 14-year vegetarian that is now actually a carnivore, but that didn't happen overnight. So you don't take a 12-year vegan 2 years before as a vegetarian and turn her into a warm-blooded carnivore like that. There was reasons for it. And that's outlined in a lot of my videos on Facebook. And we'll get some of those things over here onto YouTube for you guys. All right, because a lot of people I'm realizing really don't want to be on Facebook, but everybody loves YouTube. So I'm coming over here to play around. Okay, so I went over that. My 2 big things were redox potential, or what we might call what helps cause electrical charge in a person. I won't review it. And number 2 was the length of time a person has spent in thinking in a vitalistic way or a mechanistic way. And so the principles of vitalism versus mechanism are really important as to how we approach our own health and how we approach healthcare. And the more I can teach people and move them, my bias is vitalism is better, and mechanistic thinking and treatment should be last resort. Absolute last resort. I am glad we also have that framework of thinking, but it has become the dominant thinking, even though it's less than about 100 years old or so. And vitalistic principles that have been around for thousands and thousands and thousands of years longer than this really should be the dominant culture. And this should be used as an accessory. This is really the alternative. This is not, right? So it's trying to educate. And so I think the people who are living from a vitalistic standpoint have a much better immune system because of this. And they make choices based on this. So when they get a fever or a cough or a mucus or anything with coronavirus, they don't grab a bottle of ibuprofen. They don't do that. They don't suppress. Well, we now know what ibuprofen is doing to the system and making it worse for people. So these people, that's the first thing they do. That's already setting up the long-term plan on what's happening in the body, right? So there's a lot of people, like, it's like a new thing. Oh, don't take ibuprofen with this. Well, you didn't need to tell a vitalist because they don't even own that in their home. Okay, we don't even have that stuff sitting around our house. The mirror that sits over the sink in my home and all the bathrooms, it's called a mirror that's over the sink. A mechanist would call it, which is what nobody knows it in my house as, it's called a medicine cabinet. Well, we don't have medicine, so I don't have a medicine cabinet. I have the mirror cabinet that's over the sink. That's what it is, because it doesn't hold medicine. So my son doesn't even know what that phrase is until he read it in a book and he asked me what it was. And I unfortunately had to explain it because he didn't grow up in a mechanistic house, right? So that just gives you an idea of the difference. So that's what that video was, part 1. What I didn't get to were kind of like my action steps. So I had a link and I'll show you again there. It's in the notes. So in the description, you can see all this. You don't have to be stressed about it. If you go here, we'll send you my first PDF that has a bunch of, like, again, different things. I didn't want to say the same thing everybody is telling you. So things you aren't thinking about and the ways I'm approaching how to keep your immune system strong and how to use some other natural things to kill things. So hopefully you don't have to use stronger things to kill things. All right. But then it'll also have this newer PDF, right, with a little bit of action steps of how you're basically going to build your redox potential and do the things I said in part 1. All right. So if you didn't get that yet, that's okay. I'm going to briefly go over and explain what some of those things are in such a way where you can hear me talk about it. If you don't want to hear me talk, just go to the description, click there, just give us your email, and it'll be sent to you, that way, and you can download the PDFs and just read it. Okay. But I'm going to tell you that the thing, it's 10 pages. I typed out a lot of things for you guys because I want you to be well. I want you to be well, not only today, but tomorrow and in thousands of tomorrows after this. This should be a moment to wake everyone up to take responsibility for building a strong, powerful terrain that no host can come in and take out, right? An impenetrable fortress that always knows what to do and has healthy healing responses to whatever it has to respond to. That's the wish and what I'm trying to convey. All right. So number 1 that I don't think is being talked about very much. I don't watch the news, but I watch what people say and ask me, and I know enough from the hundreds and some people in my courses that people are taking with me right now, what they're doing and watching the news. I will caveat, I don't watch the news at all. I don't own a TV. I don't want to watch the news. I don't care what they have to say. I know it's propaganda, and I'm saying it out loud. I think you should stop watching it because it's propaganda. It's designed to do one thing, and it always does the same thing, to control and feed you what, it's like we're watching real-time history being artificially manipulated. Like we all know now, the history books that we read in school are written by the conqueror. So none of your history is accurate, because I guarantee you the perspective of, like, let's say in the American Revolutionary, the revolution, if British won, the stories would have been totally different, right? The American Civil War, had that been written from a different perspective, from Black women, Black slaves working in the field, if we were reading their version of that story, it would be very different than what is being taught in school. So that's a critical thing. Remember, the conquerors always establish history. It's from the conqueror perspective. So you're never really hearing history as it was. You're hearing one filter from the conqueror. The news is kind of a way of, like, it's conquered you already, right? The news is not impartial. We're very clear. It's bought and paid for. It's all about profits. It's about advertisers, and our biggest advertiser in the United States are pharmaceutical firms. That's very clear. Pharmaceutical firms, lobbying, and the commercials that we see here, it's constant. So I don't want to hear anything really that they have to say, because we all know now it's not giving you the accurate information. I don't care what station, or what political bias leaning you're watching. None of it is giving you the full perspective of everything. My Pookie wanted to come outside. So if you aren't familiar with me on Facebook, my dog like photobombs my videos all the time. All right, so that was a little bit of a rant about the news, but I think you should know that because they're not going to tell you this. They're not. This is where I'm at. I'm not trying to say this information is the end all and be all. It is not. You know, I have been listening to the physicians that I train under and nurses and groups that I'm in, that I pay money to be in. I'm a student of many people, and their Q&As with us and lectures with us are hours long. So I'm giving you a snippet of information based upon multiple different ways of looking at things that I just think maybe you're not hearing. So I think one of the number one things I think it is probably the number one thing is to be in sunlight. Southern sun with ultraviolet rays. So if you're living up in Canada right now, I don't think you really have any ultraviolet rays. There are apps for phones, or you can use a search engine to figure out what's the vitamin D kind of status of this latitude of where I live. So I actually have an app on this phone. It's called D-Minder. Actually, you can download that, and it tells me exactly based on where I'm at. You know, it knows where I live and where am, and it tells me shows me the whole UV light cycle, and with sunrise and sunset, and when I'm getting UVA and B and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to get a whole lesson about what the sun does, but the basic gist is so we're going to talk about it as if you have sunlight that has UV in it. All right. And I'm outside and it's going to get darker. So I'm going to talk real fast because I don't want to go inside under the artificial lights sooner than I need to. UV rays are not present everywhere all the time in such a way that your body can do much with it to make vitamin D and tan you. Okay. And in particular, even though like down here in the South where we're starting to get those and I'm already getting tan, the first roughly 90 minutes after sunrise, I usually tell my patients 60 minutes because I want them to get out there, but really about 90 minutes, there's no UV rays there. So if your sunrise is at 7:30 in the morning, if from 7:30 to 9, it's a certain different spectrum of light. Let's just say the rays there, it does different things, but I'm gonna keep it simple. That morning sunlight is kind of like the sunblock for later in the day when you have those stronger UV rays. So the UV rays, some of those rays can burn your skin, some tan you, some kill bacteria, some kill pathogens. So that's why they're important. These morning rays are kind of like the antidote. If you get enough of these, you'll just tan easily and make a lot of vitamin D3, a lot of the 1,000 other metabolites that you make from that. Making D3 all over my body is not the same as me taking a pill of D3. It is not the same at all. It's taking it orally is not the effective way to doing it. People who say just take D3 as if it's the same as your skin making it don't understand D3 and all the metabolites very well. They don't understand redox. So have I used vitamin D3 clinically, D3 and K2 combined together for my patients? I absolutely have. You have to do what you have to do when you're in crisis situations and people are sick and there's no access to sun and light and other things to try and help, their numbers. That is not the way we want to do it, though. You're built, with this. I'm built with all this skin, look at that. This is basically everywhere this is going on. And in my eyes, it's a solar battery pack. People buy these solar panels. I am a solar panel. I am designed to absorb obscene amounts of sunlight and make obscene amounts of D3 in a very short amount of time. Okay. And I'll never, ever become D3 toxic by making it through this amazing magical skin. Right. That's what you need to understand. Your body is a genius if you just let it be one. So plus, and also that morning light protects you from UV. So the media and physicians and things saying that the sun is dangerous, it's because they don't understand what the light cycle really is. And it's because the morning and evening sunlight bandwidths have been stolen from people. No one goes out in the morning sun to see the sunrise and lays out and is half naked then, the way we used to be in more primal times, where we would wake up from the sun and be walking around in the sun all day and all of that, right? The midday sun, where that UV is the healthiest, most powerful vitamin D making and other. The sun makes melatonin in your body, dopamine, neurotransmitters, hormones. It does so much more, and it's building the redox charge. All right. So if you spend time in the early morning and the evening, that kind of builds up your ability to tolerate sunlight, and you will, even the fairest, pinkest, lightest person out there will actually be able to tolerate that midday sun more. But right now you're going from never being in the sun to being in the midday sun. If you go to a beach or on vacation, and yeah, you burn because you have built up no kind of sun callus to it. Best time to do that is in the morning. So start early in the morning, coming outside, looking at the sun, letting sunlight bathe your face and your eyes and as much skin as you can tolerate with whatever temperature you're in. And that's really, really important. So basically nature has built the cure right inside by getting full spectrum sunlight. I never use sunscreen. I do not use sunscreen. Sunscreen defeats the purpose of being in the sun, because I want the sun to hit all of this. Okay. I'll come out like as much as I can. Men have their shirts off all the time. Yes, I get some tan lines, and we just learn to live with it. No lotions and potions or even makeup. Sometimes I accidentally like cocoa butter myself in the morning, and it's not really the best. I want it to really be nothing on my skin. Now, if you're like my mom living up in the north, what did I do? I shipped her some light bulbs. So I don't love people using fake light bulbs in place of sun, but I am a fan of what's called photobiomodulation, which is using light to heal. Many of you have seen me on Facebook with light things up my nose, light things on my head. I'm in light beds. I'm looking at buying a light bed. I might want to invest and maybe partner with this amazing guy out of Toronto who's making light beds and light panels. So I'm a big fan of light to heal. Light is one of the most powerful healers that exists on Earth. Hello, it's the sun. Now, we've learned to use technology to try and get these healing, wavelengths that we're missing, because now we live in these weird, bubbled, non-human-like, more robotic lifestyles, right? We live more like machines than we do like people, than humans. So we might have to use some fake lights. Now, again, people who are up north, she's in Detroit, there's no UV light really there. So, and for me to help build her charge, what did I do? I sent her an infrared A bulb, which is a heat lamp bulb that I've done many videos about. It's 250 watts. This is all in the PDF. I sent a UVB and a UVA light bulb. It's a reptile light. They're $15. Okay, none of this stuff is that expensive. So using those two together, you want them balanced. You want UVA light, UVB light. It's one light bulb you can get that does both. And then infrared A lamp. They both put off some heat, so it's actually really warm and cozy for these northern cold environments. I have that in my sauna, so I have a near-infrared sauna and a UV bulb in there, so I get a little bit of that when I'm in there, and a near-infrared A bulb, near-infrared, and a UVA UVB bulb when I have to be inside working at the computer when I'm seeing patients via Zoom or things like that. Okay. I actually try to do everything outside as much as I can. Sometimes I do need to be sequestered, quiet, away, and I will be under artificial light when I cannot be outside. But you'll see I do a tremendous amount of videos, reading, writing, meditating. I do most of it outside as much as I can. Now that many of you have the freedom to do so, I suggest you really try this out. If you have to be inside, do you have a door you can open? You can get natural light coming in, so you get some of that reflection coming on you, right? How can you bring the outside into you? That's what, we're looking at. Basically, the UVA and the UVB light, that reptile light, will be helping you make D3. All right. And the infrared A is kind of the balance to it. It also has healing properties. What these are doing is, so I think especially because we're in lockdown and quarantine in places, if I was somebody especially who was in a place like Italy, Spain, and now South Africa, and some cities here where they're saying you can't leave your home to go for a walk, to go to a park, to go to a beach, I think it's a horrific idea for the human system to be locked into a building and not have access to nature and the elements of nature, sunlight, fresh air, movement. These are the things that are going to build the redox potential and keep your immune system strong. Sunlight and D3 are intimately tied to your innate immune system, which is your first response to any type of virus or pathogen coming in. It's critical. If you got low D3, means you're sun deficient and you cannot maintain health very well at all. Okay. So I think it's at this point, I don't encourage the fake lights, but I think everybody just needs to get them, because even in Atlanta where I am, the winter is it's a UV deficient winter. I'm going to need to start using them all the time. And as we keep changing our environment into an artificial environment more and more and more, with more electrification, more towers and satellites and technology that's starting to permeate through the thread of all of nature and the grid, there comes a point where, ultimately the earth isn't even giving off the same frequency because we have so many power lines being built into it. So what are we going to do to counteract that? So I'm going to do everything I can inside my house with these bulbs. Okay. So again, they're just called reptile lights. Oh, let me click that up. This whole new StreamYard does cool things. Look at that. So there's fake light. If you can't be out, and if you work outside, if you happen to be a landscaper, you take your shirt off. Start undressing. Let's start getting a little bit more 1974 up in here. Men's shorts that are going down to halfway through their ankle. I don't know. I'm saying let's bring a retro 1978 basketball uniform back in style. That would be good. Go Pistons. Okay. So for real, people are covering up way too much skin. Let's see what else. All right. So there's about your fake lights. You can just get them. You can order them online. They'll come. Here's the thing about hand sanitizers, you guys. The alcohol, I know everyone thinks alcohol is the same. I want to point this out to you. Alcohol is denaturing your skin. It destroys the skin cells, it denatures it and dehydrates it. And then on your skin, this is battery solar pack. That's what all of this is, right? It's all, it's a solar pack. I don't know how else to say it. It holds stuff. It builds energy that you can actually store. The more time I'm in the sun in the summer, the more I'm going to hold. My vitamin D levels are going to rise in my blood, and that's going to be like in January. You can see what I did in the summer. That's how I have a good level in January. And if I didn't, I'm going to have to fly to the south, Mexico and the Caribbean, to get my D levels up. And they usually try in the winter to hit a real high UV latitude, so I can recharge keep my D up, because you're going to burn through it as things go on. Well, alcohol denatures the skin's ability to make any of that. So some of you, like the hands and the face and a little bit of your neck, are the only place that even see the sun in a day, and if you're a woman, 90% of you are wearing makeup that's blocking the sunlight. And some of you are putting on sunscreen and making the problem even worse. So you pretty much are never getting any UV light. And if on these little hands you keep using alcohol sanitizers, you're just destroying it. So I think that should only be used for emergency. They don't work as effective anyway. So I just want to point that out to you. I think you should watch and measure your screen time. I'm on the screen a lot right now. The light and the radiation that is coming off of all these devices destroys the cell water. I talked about water yesterday. It destroys the cell water and it dehydrates the cell. Once the water is bad, it all goes to hell. Remember, I taught you that. So what you can do, normally if I'm inside, I wear these glasses. So I love Raw Optics. And in the description, there's a link for that. And if you use Rimka, you get 10% off. So these are normally my daytime ones. So if I'm at a computer, I'm using these. If I'm inside, this is day. It blocks some of the blue light, not all of it, but allows me to see colors perfectly. So I read brain maps, QEEGs, neural imaging for patients, and I need to see a color spectrum. And so this is what I wear, right? You'll see sometimes a lot of videos I wear these. I suggest what people do now. Lots of people have seen me in my night videos, and I'm wearing these. Again, a different pair of raw optics. Love them. They're my favorite. But I didn't tell you that. And I've had about 20 different pairs. I wear these. These are the 550 BPI glasses, and it's red. It's very red, right? I'm just going to go ahead and leave them on because I'm starting to lose my evening, and I'm going to have to convert to my little lamp, my little spotlight. Why am I doing this? They are red blue blockers. I'm basically getting the maximum amount of protection. If you're at a computer, you guys are all being at the computer way too much. You need to go to here because this is a really stressful time. And there's a pigment in your skin and eyes called melanopsin. And if it gets destroyed, it ends up really directly lowering your innate immune system. The story of how light communicates through your eyes to your brain, the eyes really kind of are just an extension of your brain, you guys. Every neurologist knows this. That's why if you have parents that are dealing with dementia or Alzheimer's, the neurologists are always looking at their eyes to see the quality of that. And all of these brain deterioration diseases are associated with cataracts and acute macular degeneration, blindness, because it's just another symptom of what's going on inside the brain. As the eyes goes, you know the brain is going. As the brain goes, the eyes go. So I try to protect all this. It protects my hormonal system, my weight management system, insulin, all kinds of things. So I would say, do this. I think it's a critical part, protecting my light field and what's going on, my light diet, with things like this. Not hard. So even wearing glasses and things like that, like I think you should track your time, like an X-ray tech tracks their radiation exposure when doing film. And if they hit a point, they're not allowed to do it anymore, because we know a safety cutoff. And if you're going to hit that, so, you know, unless you could try to be outside in the open air working on the computer as much as possible. I move around sometimes because of shade and the light is too hot. And I've actually been on calls and my phone is overheated and I had to go put it in the freezer. It happens because I wasn't paying attention. But this is how I do things. And I think it's important. There's a lot of people that know to do this. They're called biohackers. That's the people who are knowing this, and why you see them. They've been doing this for a very, very long time. I didn't come up with most of this stuff, just so you know. Right. Next. Oh, I say, there we go. I say it. I'm not keeping up with my clicking, but I'll do the best I can. All right. So that's what I'm wearing. These are the kind of glasses. Raw Optics in the description. Rimka, 10% off. And they are worth the money. I've spent a lot on other ones, and these are, love them. All right. I talked about water in that redox potential video, part 1. If you didn't watch it, please watch it. Drinking clean water is critical. The virus dehydrates the cell. Everyone does this, every type, before it causes any symptoms that you're really even going to know about, before it completely hijacks the cell machinery, to make all of its copies. I talked about a lot of things that are dehydrating the cell, and that's what we want to stop. We need that cell fluid to stay healthy, structured the way it's supposed to be in that special gel phase, gel water that it's supposed to be. Okay. The best way to get this is from my local spring. Fresh water, coming out of a stream, a river, a creek that's bubbling up, straight from nature. It's going to have the right mineral composition. It's going to have the right pH, which isn't not an issue to me anyway. It's going to have what we call structured nature to it, because it will have been moving and twirling in circles and vortices, which is what you need it to do. So how can you basically mimic this? So one, you want clean water. That means no poisons in it. You can buy a reverse osmosis system for your house, put it in a sink or something like that. It does use a lot of water to make reverse osmosis water, so you will have wastewater. It's just, that is what is required with it. Or you can get a countertop Some devices, and I put one in the description. AquaTrue is a good one. I put that there. Berkey is another one. So those are two that I know of that are good, that do what they say they do and aren't scamming you in any way. You can buy it, one-time investment, have it on your counter and get water from your tap, put it in there and not have to have anything else. I have local spring water from Georgia delivered to my house. Either way, if I took my tap water and put it through a countertop AquaTrue, if I had a reverse osmosis in my house, or my spring water that comes delivered in jugs that's here local, that's clean water. It is not structured now. So it's has some, you know, the reverse osmosis and the AquaTrue have no minerals. My spring water does have some minerals, but what they're missing is the movement, the life force of the vortices of what going down rocks would be like. So what I do is I pinch a little bit of like Redmond's real salt or Himalayan salt. Redmond's real good. And you can just take a fork and you can spin it. If you want to get real fancy, you could put like a crystal. Yep, I said it, woo-woo, quartz, amethyst, I don't care. Quartz is everywhere, so I have a little bit of quartz. And you can put it in and twirl it in there. You could put a strainer with crystals on top of it, pour the water through there into the glass, and then stir it. You can tape some crystals on the outside of the glass. I know it's wild, but this is true. There's also some things you can buy, and I have a description in the link with Greenfield water products, which are really cool. There's some different devices. I think the AquaTrue and the Berkey are better countertop filters, but they have some devices, some small packages where you can actually help structure the water as well. I don't have suggestions on all. There's several different machines out on the market. I have not studied them enough, differentiated enough for you to give you any sound advice on which one is better. And I know they are quite an investment, but basically the po man's version of doing this, get a crystal, hold it up to a glass, run some water and swirl it. It picks up oxygen, which your body needs, and it actually goes to the microbes and helps the immune system by talking with the bacteria in there. It brings a little bit of the normal vortices. You can look up, search engine, how to make structured water, right? And then there'll be machines that will come up. Again, I cannot promote or endorse any of them because I don't know which one of them works. And I was about to buy one and it was a few $1,000s and I wasn't ready to do that on something that I wasn't sure about. Okay. But basically you're trying to replicate fresh water flowing down a glacier mountaintop. Picture it like that. All right. Now, some other long-term suggestions that I think you should know about. This is what I have in my house. So after the mold exposure that happened here, I did remediation and some other things and dehumidifiers, and the mold's a whole other story, but I wanted to make sure the air in my house was no longer killing and poisoning me and my son. So I did some research and it's called a Reme Halo. That's what I have. And it was a very affordable device that goes into my HVA system and uses ultraviolet light, because light, ultraviolet, kills pathogens, and it also uses hydrogen peroxide in somewhat of an ozone-y type way of using oxygen particles that come into my air, and it kills viruses, mold, pollen, everything. My house smells like, and it eliminates odors and things, but my house smells a little bit like a waterfall. It has that kind of high negative electrification, ozone-y, fresh smell like after rainfall. I am so sorry, but UPS is about to come bring up some things and he is talking and I can't stop it. So if you don't have something like this that you can use, and again, this is way more affordable than some of the small devices. I've had different HEPA air filters and other things like that. This was way more affordable actually, and it's much more effective because I've owned this type of stuff for 20 years and nothing has been as good as this thing is. It's brilliant. If you don't have that, you should open up your house at night. You should get some fresh air. I really think that's a big thing that you should do. Hey, I think is critical, and I'm good. You can just set it.
I wasn't sure if you're in a business call.
I am, but it's okay. They're all seeing it on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's not a problem. Everybody clap for the UPS that are still working. Praise.
You have a good one.
You too.
Thank you.
All right. And so in the video yesterday, I talked a lot about the electrification and the electromagnetic radiation and how that's really what it's doing to your body. I don't have a solution. People are asking, what 5G solution? I think it would be, people are working on it. They're smarter than me. I'm not going to come up with some technology and something, a patch and a medallion and a this. There's going to be so much nonsense being sold. I don't know what is real, what's marketing hype, what is hubris on some companies' parts to think I can slap something on this, or I can wear a pendant, or this shirt's going to have a special, mandala pattern that's going to repel and reflect. I don't know. I don't know exactly what we're going to do. I think the idea of being aware that this is happening, so we can start working with our local governments to work into the bigger governments, to start standing for protecting ourselves and the environment, and stop the electromagnetic pollution at this point. It's, to me, no different than throwing plastic straws and plastic garbage into the ocean. You're choking off and killing animals. Everybody sees that with that vivid picture of these things. Well, you are choking off and killing all of humanity and all of life soon enough with the invisible electromagnetic pollution that we are all enduring. So I don't have a solution yet. The big solution would be to move, be in less populated places, away from cities, get out of the north, get as remote and country and primal living, get off the grid. How much can you do that? So in the meantime, you can turn your Wi-Fi off at night. You cannot install no smart meters in the house. All the stuff they're trying to do, things like the smart people love to, like, oh, look what I can do. They press 1,000 buttons and control their whole home. I don't want any of that in my home. I want it as dumbed down as possible. You can get rid of the internet. You can a Wi-Fi, and you can Ethernet everything. I haven't gone to that level, but I know a lot of people who have. You can encase and hardwire your electricity. Joe Mercola has a whole book about this. He did it. Ben Greenfield has done it. A lot of people, Jack Cruz, have done it. They have the money and the resources that some of us don't have. So I haven't done all those things either. You can hire in specialists that can come into your house and help with electromagnetic protection. You can put radio frequency protection paint on your walls. You can put shielding on your windows. You can get a Faraday cage. You can sleep in that, right? These are things you can do. I sleep on a device called the Earth Pulse. It's a pulse electromagnetic frequency, but it's a very unique device that is a very, very low current set into the Earth's frequency, and it creates a little bit of a shielding. It's kind of like a pseudo Faraday cage for me that works to heal my mitochondria and create a little bit of a blanket umbrella to kind of quiet out the noise of the radio frequencies in the electromagnetic soup. So at least when I'm sleeping, I have some protection, so I can still heal. I can still be a little bit like I'm connected to nature. I am not sure it's going to combat the nature of what 5G is going to do, however. But it was a fraction of the cost. It's actually, the description of that is in there. I didn't think I would say that, but it's a fraction of the cost of like a Faraday cage. You can buy these special things. They're thousands of dollars, so we got to pick and choose what we can do. So do I have the solution would be we stand up and rise up as a people and start thinking about what we're doing to ourselves, short and long term. What are we doing to ourselves now, our children, our future children? Why are there so many weird illnesses, weird mutations? Why is this happening? Why does every generation keep getting sicker? Why are our children coming in more sensitive, more fragile, more incapable, more intolerant, more, what is going on, right? This is one of those invisible things that people need to start being aware of. You are an electromagnetic being. You are and a light being. You are highly sensitive to the input of electricity, magnetic pulses, sound sonar waves, light. If it isn't congruent with the way life is supposed to be on Earth, it's an opposition to your health. So that's what, if you go there to that link, that's in the description. There's several products. Oh, okay. Let me say this. So it's hard to see sometimes with those glasses on. You can, I wasn't, so in the one PDF that you'll get if you do this, I go over like some supplements, and some of these things might be weird things you never heard of that I think are specific to coronavirus, to this new novel virus that we have. That's a little bit confusing. And if I was on the edge, if I was on like, I don't really know about how selenium and elderberry are going to work because it seems a little bit different, I just said, well, I'm not taking it. If I don't know for sure what it's going to do, I'm going to pause. I know C is good. I know zinc is good, right? So I said, you know, quercetin's good. So when I wrote that, it was a couple weeks ago. But I update this a whole lot more. So I have a, you know, a physician grade dispensary for potency guaranteed counterfeit proof, which is huge in the industry, online dispensary that you can register yourself with. And then you can see I have different categories. I have like detox, and I have my top choices. I have immune support, my top choices. And I have one that says now viral scares and travel. So additional things. So it's very specific things to like the coronavirus that I put in there that I keep adding to. So if you want, you can register with that, and you can see exactly the things I like, the products that I like. For example, in this situation, things that I think are really important really quickly, melatonin, which is an odd thing that I never recommended to people, but melatonin has some very unique immune system properties, and I'm recommending pretty high doses. It's not about sleeping at all. I'm taking pretty high doses. I'm giving my son a little bit of compared for his age at 14. My mother's taking double what I'm taking. Nitric oxide is really important. I'm not sure if taking it orally is going to be smart or not. I don't think it's going to damage me. So I added nitric oxide to myself and my mother. Why? Nitric oxide, I think, is one of the most important things in this healing process, but the sunlight is the best way to do it. And it deals with the charge and the redox potential, but it's affordable. It's Human N. It's in that PDF. You'll see it's like $40. I was like, you know what, for $40 a month right now, I'm going to do it. I do take NADH normally. Some people take NAD. I take NADH. You can get that via IV injections. You can use a patch. You can do a sublingual. There are very different things in the marketplace. I don't take it right now because taking exogenous NAD or NADH seems to be a problem because it's feeding a process that isn't good for this. So it's certain things and I say all this in that PDF. Again, I am not taking elderberry. It's one of those that I decided not to do. So I will say, I didn't think I was going to say this, but in January, I got sick for the first time in 9 years. And I know because of Facebook tracking it. I remember exactly, because it's a big deal when you're a mom to get sick, and how you're going to get help, and who's going to watch your kid, and who's going to cook, and who's going to clean, and oh my God, what's happening? So I remember it. Facebook helped me. I know when it happened. It was 9 years ago. So to not have like an infectious cold or flu in 9 years for most people that's pretty good. I just thought it was a flu. Looking back at it now, and I was doing everything that you're supposed to do like for the flu. And I just kept getting sicker, and it was worse. And it was horrible. It was bad. And I was taking elderberry like crazy, made it fresh. I was taking NADH because I was already taking it. And I was taking selenium. So I took other stuff too. And like nothing was working. This was normally, I can bang something out. I was doing several of the things that I was doing, and it was unusual. It was a different type of respiratory thing I've never had. I don't know if I ate what I had, to be honest. I had just flown back from California, where I was at a conference with a lot of people from different Asian markets, right? Who knows? All I can say is I did all your classic flu stuff, and it classically didn't do a dang thing. And I was just getting worse and worse and worse. And I think the only thing that really made me better was about 10 days into it, I had another conference in Florida. And so I was better. I felt good enough to go, and I laid in this, and I was exhausted. I was really, really exhausted. So I couldn't work. It was my birthday. It was my birthday trip and conference. So I was like, I think I can, it's my birthday. I want to go to Florida, and I'm going to go to West Palm. And I laid for 2 days in a row in a bikini by a pool and slept. I just slept and slept and slept. I wasn't on the phone. I wasn't checking email, other than phone call to my son and a check in to my mom, like, I'm good. That was it. It was a true nothing in lots of UV sunlight in the end of January. And after, and I was there a couple days longer, but that like 2.5, 3 days, lots of that, it was like I felt like a completely different person. It was remarkable what happened to me. And looking at it now, I think it was all about that redox potential, my nitric oxide, my D3 levels, and recharging my system. And the sunlight did it. But it could have been what I was taking was absolutely making it worse. So in the full script, I have some things in there you may not have heard about or thought about, and the thinking and the philosophy as to why for this. It sounds like a good idea. And since I've been taking care of and around several COVID-19 patients, I have had 3 IVs. I haven't felt sick at all, but I just did it because I don't want to get too drained. I just, figure I'm taking you, I'm taking them, this and that. Let's do it because, if anybody as a mother, I can't go down. So give me a Myers cocktail with an extra vitamin C boost. Let's hit it. Let's replenish me. Let's get me feeling good. I'm out in the sun every minute I can. I'm in my sauna. I talk about nebulizing in that PDF. I have a nebulizer. Maybe I'll do a YouTube on how I use the nebulizer, how I use my sauna for it. So, these are all just things that are building my immune system. Well, some are building my immune system, some are used to kill things. So killing something and building my system are not the same. So the nebulizer isn't building my immune system. I use it to kill. I use hydrogen peroxide compounded from a physician for me, and you can do that. But you can use it, some people use it to carry in supplements, right? So there's lots of interesting things you can do with some of these things that you can buy and keep at your house and always be ready to go and be prepared. I'm trying to help get you prepared short-term and long-term. The idea is to not forget about this moment, because I suspect this won't be the last time we see something like this happen. So I suspect you prepare by building yourself into a strong terrain. And then you don't have to have anxiety or worry about what if, because you're ready. A little bit, to use a masculine term, you're locked and loaded. Well, let's hit it. You know what I mean? A Navy SEAL is not really scared to go off and do what they got to do because they've trained, right? I would be scared. I don't know how to do it. But if you get to the point you know what the hell you're doing, it's a whole lot more confidence inside of you. And that whole energy changes how you respond. So you'll notice the people who are calm right now are usually people who've been preparing, either mentally with positivity, affirmations, mental discipline, knowing how to use their filter. They know how to do that, or they've been physically prepared, right? If you're a 35-year-old guy with 6% body fat and been metabolically healthy and you've been living a, primal, ancient, low carb, keto, bodybuilding, you're a trainer or something, what are you afraid of right now? Nothing, right? If you're 100 pounds overweight with diabetes and a history of asthma, you're not really prepared, right? So that's what we want to do. I want to tell you, though, if you're 100 pounds overweight, you have type 2 diabetes and you have asthma, you don't have to have those things any longer if you do not want them. We can change you at a fundamental frequency cellular level and get you healthy. That's a fact. Okay. All right. Have a good one, guys. Let me know if you want any of this stuff. Descriptions down there. I hope it was helpful.